Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chronicles of Hollywood History, Past, Present, and Future. Welcome. And here now, Corey Gomez.
All right, I am here with Kenn Scott, who readers of this site will know he played Ken Marks in Showdown. But before he did that, and before we get into that, a little known fact, he is also an author because he was also the man under the puppet suit in Teenage Mutant Ninja. He was the mouthy foot soldier and Raph for a while in Ninja Turtles, and then he was Raphael through the whole thing in Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. Can you tell us a little bit about the Turtles and your book that chronicles it?
Hey, Corey, I really appreciate you having me on. Good to talk to you. Look, my first job out of college was being a ninja. And it was really the culmination of a lifelong dream that I had at that point. Ever since I was just a teenager, I had wanted to be an action hero in the movies. And I did nothing but pursue that dream all the way through my teenage years and through college. And as soon as I graduated from college, I was fortunate enough to find my way into a position and get some auditions. And I ended up working on the Ninja Turtle movies. And a lot of people don't know this, but I started as one of the extras in the Ninja Turtles. I was one of the foot soldiers, as you mentioned. I was actually Talkative Foot number 2 in the first Ninja Turtle. But then through a whole series of crazy circumstances, I went from being a foot soldier, and during that first movie, I worked my way up to becoming Raphael, the actual stunt double for Raphael, and doing all the kung fu and martial arts and karate and ninja fighting and everything for Raphael. So after that, I then went on to make the second movie, and I became the actor that was Raphael. There's multiple guys that play each turtle in the movies. And it was such a great experience that it was my first job coming out of college. And for 30 years now, I've been able to travel the country and meet fans and do all this. And everybody in the Turtle family loved to hear stories about behind the scenes and what was it like working with this person and how did this work and what was it like being inside the Ninja Turtle suit. And after a while, sharing so many of their stories, I just finally decided, this probably seems like a great time to write a book. I was actually inspired by Ty Mock, who was the last dragon. I saw that he had written a book, and I was sitting next to him at a Comic-Con signing pictures between him and Sam Jones and Flash Gordon. And I saw Ty Mock had written a book, and so I bought it, and I read it, and it was fine. I enjoyed Last Dragon. I was just like every other kid at that time. I looked up to Ty Mock and thought he was so cool. But I read the book, and I've been kind of a writer my whole life. It's part of what I do for a living. And I thought, I think I could write a book like this. So anyway, reached out to some friends to get some advice, wrote a book, and finally came out with From Teenage Ninja to Mutant Turtle, Becoming the Real Raphael. And it's the story of how I became Raphael and lots of behind-the-scenes stories of making the film. Came out just at the beginning of this year in celebration of the 30th anniversary of the first movie, and within the first month, it became an Amazon bestseller. So it's been awesome.
Now, I've been a lifelong comic collector, so I remember I actually own the original Turtle comic books, black and whites, and I remember reading them and really digging them. And then when the cartoon came out, I absolutely hated what they had done to it. But when the movie came out, I liked how they left the story of the first 10 issues, which was probably their best story they've ever done. And yet they still had a kid-friendly enough, for the family audience. But did you ever did anyone imagine that movie would be the blockbuster that it became?
Well, certainly I'm going to think that Tom Gray and some of the other executive producers did think that, and that's why they decided to invest in it and get in it. Now, whether somebody can imagine that it's going to be super viral, you can never imagine that. But, yeah, there were some visionary producers that saw it, and they went through a whole lot of different iterations of what the movie might be. Everything from famous stand-up comics wearing rubber suits and telling jokes to a cheap $2 million kung fu movie with stunt guys in rubber Godzilla-like suits. And ultimately, they ended up with the formula they had. They teamed up with New Line Cinema, who had done so well with the Nightmare on Elm Street series. So obviously Bob Shea, the guy who ran New Line, he also saw something in it, because he came in and partnered up as the distributor. And those guys got it out there. They saw something, and they were right. And man, it super paid off. And I think what was so great about that first movie, and one of the reasons that it did take off, is, as you mentioned, it retained some of the original flavor of what the Turtles really were. Even though it had some of that sort of later cartoon and Archie comic steel sewn into the tapestry, the fact that they had gotten an artistic director like Steve Barron, and for those that don't know, Steve Barron was a very visionary music video director. He directed the famous Aha video called with the song "Take on Me." There was all the illustration. Mm-hmm. He directed the milestone video that was Dire Straits, "Money for Nothing," and he directed Billie Jean with Michael Jackson, where he's dancing on that sidewalk that lights up. Just those three alone are amazing, visionary milestone MTV videos. And so they had a really visionary director who looked at that first film. He wasn't thinking blockbuster cartoon movie. He was thinking, artistic, weird, dark crystal labyrinth kind of movie. And he came out with something really cool. Great mix of that.
I was a huge fan of the comics and of Casey Jones, and I loved Elias Koteas' portrayal of him. Do you know why Casey wasn't in the second film? Because, he came back for like a brief point in 3, but do you know why they didn't have his character written into part 2?
I couldn't even begin to speculate on that. It may have been his unavailability. It may have been some conversation between him and producers and money and billing. And, there was a big change overall from number 1 to number 2. Obviously, Judith Hoag, who played April O'Neil, she didn't come back. A couple of the performers. The reason that I was elevated from stunt turtle performer to acting turtle performer, which means I was wearing the suit that had all the electronic motors and stuff in it. The reason I was promoted that is because Josh Paris, the actor who originally played Raphael and who I did all the stunt fighting for in the first movie, he didn't come back for the second movie. David Foreman, who played Leonardo, did not come back for the second movie. And for me, that was great because then I met Mark Casso, and Mark played Leonardo, and Mark was amazing. He's still a great friend of mine. He's a beautiful guy. I love him to death. And then by the time the third movie rolled around, truth be told, except for Elias, and he actually pronounced his name Elias when we were on the set, except for Elias, nobody that was in the third movie was in the first movie. The only person that made it to from an acting point of view, some of the stunt guys were there, but Mark Casso was the only turtle that was in the second movie, and that was also in the third, and he wasn't even in the first. So nobody in the third movie was in the first except for Casey Jones. So there were a lot of personnel changeover through that trilogy of movies.
Do you think if parental groups, which it was, in my opinion, was beyond stupid, wouldn't have gotten behind of too much violence by these kids things and the turtles shouldn't do this and turtles shouldn't do that, do you think the films, they would have, continued to make like a few more of them in the vibe of part 1?
No, I don't think. Well, again, this is all just speculation. I was on the performance end of things, so that I was below the line, as they say in a movie. Those are above the line decisions made by producers and what have you. I know for a fact that if you look at the box office gross of the movies, they went down, down, down. I believe the first one made 160 domestically. The second one made, I'm going to make it number up. I'll say 120, but I don't remember. And the third one made under $100 million. Obviously, that's still a lot of money, but I think that they just saw that franchise had kind of its course, and that property could then be used in other places.
I give it credit. Every handful of years, that is a property that just continually reinvents itself by really not doing anything different. It just keeps coming back.
Well, I got a lot of people always say that. They go, "Oh, the turtles are coming back, or they'll come back again." At this particular point, I think the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are much of a part of any other superhero. I don't think they go, Spider-Man, they're making so many different iterations of that. Batman, they make so many. How many guys have been Batman at this particular point? How many guys have been Spider-Man? So they constantly reimagine these great mythical tales that they want to tell. And there's a course where they've been constantly reimagining the Turtles. Everything from whether it's the films or the new cartoon, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A good friend of mine, executive producer Andy Soriano, started that whole show. And it's funny, I knew Andy back when I was a trainer at Gold's Gym in Hollywood. I mean, way after I was a Ninja Turtle. He was a client, and we met, and lo and behold, years later, he became the executive producer of a Ninja Turtle cartoon. So anyway, our worlds collided. So anyway, Corey, basically what happens is properties keep coming up in different platforms and media all the time. So when people say that it's coming back, I'm like, it never left. It's here, it's going to stay, and you'll see movies every now and again and TV shows whenever they want to reimagine them.
As a fan, what did you think of the last two the Michael Bay movies?
I have no opinion on those because I did not see them, Corey. Sorry to say.
You're okay. I liked the first one. I didn't like the second one.
Okay, there you go.
I couldn't.
I have not. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I'm not really. I don't have any sour grapes about movies. Some people are like, oh, because you're not in it. No, it has nothing to do with that. I love anytime something Ninja Turtles comes out because around the world there's just good energy and good juju for Ninja Turtles. But two things kind of keep me from going to see that movie. One is I didn't come to being a Ninja Turtle from being a Ninja Turtle fan. Like, I knew who they were, but we're talking, this is 1989 when I got the job. It's only about a year and a half after the cartoon came out, and just about 4 years after the comic books even started. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know anything about them. I got lucky and got a job working in an action movie, and while I was on the set, I would turn to people and be like, who's April O'Neil? And who's Casey Jones? What is that guy with the hockey mask? So I learned all about Ninja Turtles by working on the movies, and then, of course, after that, totally understand who they are, the characters and the life and all that. But I don't own any Ninja Turtle stuff. I don't have Ninja Turtle statues around my house. I don't have a Ninja Turtle comic collection or anything like that. I kind of see it, I see it from the other side of the mask, so to speak. And I love it. I love my experience because I get to meet fans at cons and the whole thing. But the other reason I don't really go to see that movie is because I'm not a big Michael Bay fan.
Oh.
And I think he's visually, the guy's got great ideas, but I don't think he's a very good storyteller, and I'm constantly disappointed by the movies he's made in the past, and I oftentimes feel like I'm going to have a seizure from all the flashing going on the screen. So I just didn't get through those movies.
He's my go-to of the mindless popcorn films, quote unquote. Now, to go back a little bit, you started studying martial arts at age 13?
Yeah, 12, basically.
When you originally were you a fan of like martial arts films before you started taking martial arts?
As a kid, I was kind of fascinated by it. I was a young kid who loved action and adventure things. So I liked wrestling. I loved professional wrestling. If a kung fu movie happened to come, this is before cable television or the internet. So if a kung fu movie happened to come on a Saturday on Channel 48 in Greensboro, North Carolina, I might watch it for a little while and just kind of enjoy it. But there wasn't really a whole lot of martial arts entertainment out in 1979 when I started taking it. Sure, the Bruce Lee movies had already come and gone, but that was, I was 4 or 5 years old when those came out, and there wasn't VHS tapes to go watch them on. So it wasn't like you could go see Bruce Lee movies anywhere as a 13 or 12-year-old kid in Greensboro, North Carolina. So it was just as I started taking martial arts that things like Chuck Norris movies really started to get a little bit more prominent and come out. And also, like a few years later, the ninja movies from Canon Films, all the Enter the Ninja, all the Shotosugi movies. So it wasn't really until about the late 70s and early 80s that martial arts movies really started to play prominently in theaters in the regular, suburban cities and things like that. So I liked what I liked when I saw things on TV, but it just coincided that as I got into martial arts, I started seeing Good Guys Wear Black with Chuck Norris and A Force of One. And then soon after that, it was, Return of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja, or Revenge of the Ninja. And then soon after that, it was Jean-Claude Van Damme showed up and all that. So I've been a fan ever since I've seen martial arts, whether on TV or in the movies. But after I started taking martial arts, my fandom shot through the roof.
Did you ever envision when you first started taking it that you would make that into a career?
I in my mind, I never thought of it as a career. I started taking martial arts, and I just thought it was kind of cool, and I liked it, and I didn't want to get picked on. I was a small kid, so I just thought karate was really cool, and I wanted to do it. And then once I started watching those movies, as I kind of became a fan of the movies and sat in the theaters and watched them, you know, when you're 13, that's traditionally when a boy starts to think about young manhood. That's why you get bar mitzvah at 13, or you have to go out into the jungle and find your way back to your village when you're about 13. So it's right about that time when you start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? Well, you know, I'm becoming a man. That's when I started looking at those movie heroes and goes, I want to do that. I want to be Chuck Norris. I want to be Jean-Claude Van Damme. So my first karate lesson, no, I had no idea. But it wasn't long after that I decided, you know what? This could be a pretty cool thing to do.
Now, when you did you think back then, because you were at about the right time, when you went to LA at first, were you hoping to get into like canon films?
Oh, absolutely. My whole goal was to basically follow in Jean-Claude Van Damme's footsteps. I finished the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. Those were actually shot in North Carolina, where I grew up, went to college, and as soon as I graduated college, I made those movies, and then I moved to Los Angeles to pursue the rest of my action film career. So, because I already had two Ninja Turtle movies under my belt, and I thought I was the coolest thing since sliced bread, I thought, once I got to L.A., yes, I'm going to work for Canon Films, and I'm going to work for Shapiro Glickenhaus, and I'm going to work for Roger Corman, and all those sort of independent production companies that were making things, and ultimately, just like Jean-Claude or anybody else, I would be in a Warner Brothers movie or a Universal Studios movie. That was really my ultimate dream. I wanted to see that Universal Studios logo come up before a movie I made. So, once I got there, that was my plan, Corey. I was destined to be the next action hero.
Now, when you made a little movie called Showdown, did you ever figure that here, oh God, what is that movie now? 25 years old, maybe? Did you ever figure that would go on to the cult status? As you know, like I always say, it's like, no, it's better than the Karate Kid. The janitor teaches this dude to fight in an underground arena. And did you ever think that movie would go on to develop the huge cult following that it has?
The only reason I might have thought it would develop a cult following is if people were going to riff tracks it and make fun of it. And if that happened, I might have seen that. But I never imagined that people would really feel about it the way that I've learned that they do. And I'm sure there's some people out there that are going to mock certain things about it because there's a very cartoony elements about that movie. But over the years, as people who are true fans, and man, I'll tell you, Corey, when I need a Showdown fan, that for me, that's my Hollywood dream, because that's a Kenn Scott fan right there. That's not just because I was Raphael. That's a Kenn Scott fan, because that was going to be my launching pad to being the next Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I, of course, thought whatever movie I made was going to be awesome, and people would love it, because this was my path. I was a Ninja Turtle. Now I was going to be Ken Marks, and then I was going to go on to be some kind of time-traveling cop, and then I was going to do this and do that. So, but after I saw it, and I realized, oh, there's some goofiness in that, and then things did as they did, I never thought they would have the lasting value that it had. I mean, in Germany, like 2 years ago, they released a collector's Blu-ray edition.
American Karate Tiger, I've got it.
Yeah, exactly. American Karate Tiger. And a lot of people don't know this, but the guy that was my voice in the German version of Showdown is the guy that plays Stiglitz in Inglourious Bastards with Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh.
That actor does my voice in Showdown. So there's a little Hollywood trivia for you. So anyway, I'm Yeah,
I have that
I'm
DVD or Blu-ray. I'm sorry.
I'm super pleased that MVP recently came out with the cult edition. I think they did a really cool job of making the DVD cover look like an old VHS box.
I've got
It's
that
aged,
too.
and it looks like it's got a sticker that says "Please rewind" or something
yeah.
like that. I think. Yeah, it's super cool. But people come up to me and they're like, "This movie's better than Never Back Down. This is Never Back Down to rip off of Showdown."
Yep.
And so people are like, "I like Karate Kid. I mean, I like this better than Karate Kid." I don't know how anybody in their right mind could ever say that unless it's just from the humor of saying it. Because Karate Kid is an amazing, inspirational. I love that movie.
Yeah,
and Showdown is the highly tell people Showdown is the poor man's Karate Kid.
No, Showdown's so much better because, like, at least you're getting trained. For those of you, like, 2 people listening to this that don't know in Showdown, Ken plays Ken Marks. New kid, bullied by the guy who knows karate. The janitor saves him. Janitor is Tybo man, Billy Blanks, and he trains him. Now, let's think. Now, Billy's got you jogging. He's got you running. He's spending all day after school training you. He's training you in the mountains on the weekend. In Karate Kid, Daniel wasn't doing any of that. He saw Mr. Miyagi on the weekends. Ain't no way he would have learned in 8 lessons with no sparring how to win a tournament. And you fight your guy there in the arena, and then we get Patrick Kilpatrick whipping Billy Blanks. And no, that movie's just so amazing.
Well, Corey, I appreciate that review and summary of the movie. I thought that was awesome, and it gave me goosebumps. I can't wait to watch it again.
The only thing I would have liked to have seen just a little more, like when Billy breaks up the party in the beginning, I had to watch it for the 3rd time to realize that's why Patrick Kilpatrick hated him, that, oh, he just has a mustache now. That was his brother that Billy killed. It's like, there was like it was like, here's a scene, and then we switch gears right away. The trailer for it is awful, though, because it, like, people are like, the guy's wiping his gun, like, a new kid in a dangerous school. It's like, what the hell is this? And then when it finally got into the actual trailer, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I'm glad it's out there, and I'm glad there's folks like you, Corey, talking about it and keeping it alive. I love that.
Well, now you mentioned you watch professional wrestling. Do you still watch professional wrestling?
I don't. I haven't watched professional wrestling in a long, long time. I loved it as a kid, and Ric Flair was my favorite, by the way. He's my number 1 wrestler. Outside of that, I moved into real combat sports as soon as once I started taking karate. I really got into PKA, the first sort of professional kickboxing league that was out there in America, out of Atlanta, done by Joe Corley. So I started watching PKA, and then and I was big into boxing, and then ultimately when MMA came out, that's my jam. I love UFC and MMA. I am a diehard fan of that sport.
See, I had to ask because, you know, Paul London, professional wrestler, actor, martial artist, his favorite movie is Showdown. So I wanted to let you know even the pro wrestlers are watching Showdown and digging it.
I love that, man. I love to hear that.
It's such a good movie. I showed it to my son. My son is 10, loves Cobra Kai, but he'll even tell you Showdown is way better than the Karate Kid.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Showdown, better than Karate Kid.
There should have been Showdown 2 where you would go meet Billy's family somewhere, and then Showdown 3 where you go back to the tournament, and there should have been more of them.
There should have been more, Corey, but unfortunately the company went bankrupt because the next movie they made was Double Dragon with Scott Wolf and Mark Dacascos. And what was supposed to be an $8 million budget inflated to a $28 million budget as they shot in Cleveland, Ohio. And then ultimately that movie did terribly, and the company went bankrupt, and that was it, and there was no more Showdown. And that's why Showdown never, ever came out on DVD. It was only released on VHS, and then it disappeared. First it came out in theaters, then it was released on VHS, then it disappeared, and it was on Laserdisc, back when you had Laserdisc, and then only appeared recently on DVD release, or Blu-ray release.
Yeah, like I said, I've got the American Karate Tiger. I do a lot of work for MVD and review their films and that. I have that was like the one I was most anxious for was that release. Ironically, another one of their releases is Double Dragon, which I also kind of enjoyed. But then I didn't even know. Paul London, speaking of which, told me, and so I had to rewatch it again. One of my favorite movies of that era was Shootfighter, starring, ironically, Kreese and Johnny from The Karate Kid, Bola Young.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a part in there when they both show up in Mexico to fight.
Yes, I was in Shootfighter. I played Eddie, and that was such a fun time. That was right after Ninja Turtles. I had moved to Los Angeles, and Pat Johnson, who was the stunt coordinator on the Ninja Turtle movies, was working on this independent movie. And he knew the producer, and he was helping the producer and trying to put together this, sort of B action movie. And it was starring Michael Bernardo. They were trying to turn this guy Michael Bernardo into a martial arts star. And so they teamed him up with Billy Zabka. And that's where I met Billy Zabka working on a film. And that's one of the best times in my life. After I worked with Billy on that movie, we were friends for several years after that. We eventually lost touch. We just went our own ways in Hollywood and did our own thing. But I loved Billy. He was a great guy, a lot of fun. And then they brought Bola Young in to play the bad guy. I think the bad guy. No,
Bola was a good guy.
Yeah, Bola was a good teacher at this point. And so Pat called me up and he said, "Hey, Ken, I'm doing this movie, and I need some guy to come in and take some reactions and get beat up and all this kind of stuff." And I'm not going to. I think I will remember his name. So of course, anything Pat Johnson wanted from me, of course I would do. And this was a chance to go be in a movie. So I showed up on the set, and I got to go to makeup, and they made me up like I had black eye and everything. The first time I'd been in a movie and really been made up with appliances, so that was super cool. And then they put me in a locker room, and I got to do a scene with three iconic actors. I was in a scene with, iconic in a certain way. One of the guys, is in there, the bad guy, is James Pax. Mm-hmm. And James, the reason that's so exciting for me is he was the lightning of the three storms in Big Trouble in Little China.
Great movie.
And that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mine too.
So here's James Pax, the Storm. And then there's another actor named Edward Albert. And not the Eddie Albert from Green Acres, but Edward Albert, who's a famous actor from 70s movies and television specials and all that. And then the third guy that's in there, the guy that actually beats me up, is Bob Schott. And Bob Schott is a big blonde-haired guy who's been the bad guy in so many movies. I think he was definitely the bad guy in Jim Cotta with Kurt Thomas. And I think he was the bad guy in Force 5 with Joe Lewis.
Yes,
I think he was in that movie.
He was.
Yeah. He was in that. Bong Soo-han was the ultimate bad guy, but Bob Schott played his sort of henchman in the cult. So Bob Schott had been in so many movies. So here I am. It's my first. I just moved to L.A. Pat Johnson, who's this famous guy from Karate Kid and Ninja Turtles, called me up, asked me to be in a movie, and I'm in a scene with those three guys from all these movies and things I've seen. So being Shootfighter was super cool, man. Crazy movie, but super cool.
Oh, I loved it. I even loved part 2. Once again, though, that's another movie here. VHS release. That's it. I had to buy like a German Blu-ray set just to be able to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these movies from the late 80s and early 90s, during that whole boom of martial arts independent films, man, they came out in droves. And then starting in the, as the 90s went on, they became fewer and far between. But there was a deluge of those things with starting with King of the Kickboxers with Don the Dragon Wilson and Billy Blank, and then just on and on from there.
I love them all. And then 2 weeks ago, I interviewed probably
Wait. I think I got that wrong, and I don't want to get called out. King of the Kickboxers was, the other guy. Yeah, Lauren Avedon.
Yeah.
Kickfighter, I think, is what Don the Dragon Wilson or something. No, Blood Fist. That's what it was. Blood Fist. Those are his movies with Roger Corman. Okay, good.
And if you were wondering, I did ask when I interviewed Don the Dragon, if you don't want to listen to the whole interview, I said, why was everyone Blood Fist when you were a different guy? And he said, because Roger Corman said, when we say Blood Fist, that means it's a Don the Dragon movie. So in case you're ever wondering why he was a different character in every film.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. Roger Corman, for those that don't know, he wasn't just the producer of schlock movies in the 80s and 90s. He created amazing movies, Little Shop of Horrors, the original one. So many guys worked for him. James Cameron, who did all the special effects and spaceships in Battle Beyond the Stars. All those guys were working for Roger Corman and worked their way up. So for a long time, he was doing really super cool stuff on the cheap. But boy, he knew how to make films and market them across the world for sure.
No, I interviewed probably the nicest woman I've ever interviewed. The only interview I was ever truly nervous about because I was such a huge mark. Miss Cynthia Rothrock, and you were in. Believe it or not, her favorite American film is the one you were in, and that's Sworn to Justice. What was that like?
No kidding. Sworn to Justice was awesome. It was. I got to play a bad guy. And one of the things that I suffered from in my career was I kind of thought that I would just get by on my charisma and my energy. And I didn't really train as an actor like I should have while I was there. Just like a martial artist, I should have been practicing and in classes more than I was. So a few years into my career, I finally realized that. And when I did, I started taking classes with a great teacher called Anita Jeffrey, and started training with her. As soon as I was training with her, I went out and auditioned, and I got a new agent. They liked what I was doing. And the very first time that agent got me on audition, they called me and they said, Ken, I don't ordinarily work in this world of these kinds of martial arts movies, but I saw that in the breakdowns they were looking for somebody, and I thought I would send you out for it, and we could see what happens. It was the very first audition this agent had gotten for me. So I showed up at the audition, and I walked in, and the room was filled with like 35 to 45-year-old men that were all like 6 feet tall and kind of handsome guys. And I'm 5'7", and at the time, I don't know, I was 28 or something like that. I was definitely younger than some of those cats. And it was for the bad guy. It was for Eugene, the role of Eugene in Sworn to Justice, playing the bad guy in the movie, sort of a heavy. And I went in there, and I used my new acting chops, and they asked me to do some martial arts, and I ended up getting the role. And it was great because I showed my new agent that my acting was good. I felt validated as an actor for doing it, and I got the role of a bad guy. I've never played a bad guy like this before. So, got to meet Cynthia Rothrock. She was so beautiful on the inside and the out. I had grown up watching her. She's not that much older than me, just a few years maybe. But I had grown up going to karate tournaments and reading Karate Illustrated and Inside Kung Fu, and she was constantly on the cover with the West Coast demo team, and she had already gone to Hong Kong and made all the great movies that she had made and starred in. I think she was in Yes, Madam, and made China O'Brien, and all the stuff that she had done. So she was a star, and I know that this was a movie in which the producers were trying to do something different with her and make her a little bit more of a sex symbol and all this kind of stuff and everything. So, I mean, look at it, man. Walter Koenig, they had Mako, they had Cynthia Rothrock, they had Kurt McKinney from No Retreat, No Surrender, they had Tony LoBianco playing the cop. So they had really stunt cast this thing well. And here I was, the most unknown of all these actors, and I got to play kind of a prominent supporting role in the movie. So it was great doing that. It was great because I got to do a fight scene with Cynthia Rothrock, and the truth of the matter is, if you watch that, Corey, I actually kind of beat her in the fight, but then the fight gets cut short, so I can say I was beating Cynthia Rothrock in film. And then I got to do a really cool fight scene with Kurt McKinney after that. So being Sworn to Justice was just, every time I made any movie, it was a great experience, but this was fabulous, and the chance to work with a legend like Cynthia was awesome.
What was it when she fought you? Because, she did the Hong Kong for so long, where it's so rough and they're padded. I'm willing to bet that when you guys fought, she never hit you hard once.
She didn't, but I will say she and I had a weapons fight. She had a pair of scream sticks, or, she had a pair of sticks, and I had nunchucks. And the only thing she did was kind of hit me on the back of the shoulder, and no, it was nothing. She's a phenomenal martial artist. She's the real deal. Unlike when I did the Showdown, at the end of Showdown, after I beat Ken McLeod in the ring, Patrick Kilpatrick comes in and strikes me to get me out of the way. Man, that son of a bitch punched me so hard in the back of my spine, it hurt like hell.
Yeah,
and
I had a feeling he hit you for real.
he laid one into me, and I wasn't happy about that. There's nothing I could do, but he punched me. And then I know he was working with Billy, and I know that, they were going, and Billy did not hold back a couple of times in order to let Patrick know what it felt like to get hit. And I know if you watch, there's one moment where Billy grabs Patrick Kilpatrick and then does like a jump spinning back kick and kicks him like in the abdomen somewhere. He kicked him pretty good when he did that.
Well, because it looked like when Patrick Kilpatrick was whipping him, which I guess when I interviewed Patrick, he said he kind of ad-libbed that. It looked like he laid him in pretty good.
Yeah, look, Patrick's an actor. He's not a martial artist. So when you say fight me and hit me, he's going to do it, as an actor. He's there and doing that thing. That's why he's so amazing and been in so many movies. He's just got that thing. But he's an actor, a real actor.
How was Billy?
Billy was great. Billy was riding high at that time, and he was brought into Showdown so that nobody knew who Kenn Scott was, and Billy Blanks was a great name in the independent movie world. He had not done Taibo at that point, so he was really mostly focused on his movie career as his media outlet, along with his martial arts system. And he was just great. He was super nice. I know he was trying real hard. This was a different kind of role for him. He was always playing the tough guy or the robot or the bad guy or something. And so for this chance for him to feel the remorse as the cop and to become the mentor, I know was something different for him. And I know he took a lot of pride in working on that, focusing on that, and working with the director. So he was great and a great guy to work with. We had laughs together.
He always, Patrick said what a great guy he was. And, Don the Dragon had said what a great guy he was. Now, when Sworn to Justice came out, that was kind of coming toward the end of probably the greatest era of my life. All these straight-to-video action films, they were kind of coming to an end about that point. Did you, were you hoping to get, another, because, conceivably back then, you probably could have made, a movie a month? Were you kind of sad to see that era of film kind of go away?
Yeah, absolutely. That's when, that was the independent film market, and that's when it was all taking place. There was a lot of money to be found from foreign filmmakers, and they were going to the Philippines and to Thailand and just wherever they could to make martial arts movies for $500,000, $800,000, whatever it was. But you could get a movie made. And then things kind of dried up as we got into the late 90s. That sort of market started to dry up. And video stores weren't buying as many copies of these movies anymore. Blockbuster and those other groups had kind of taken over, and they were buying 50 cassettes of Mission Impossible, and they didn't have any money left to buy, a Richard Norton movie or something like that, or a Warren Avedon film. So you're exactly right, Corey. When that money dried up, that market dried up, and it was a real shame because that's when you were golden, man. That's when Art Camacho was doing a lot of fight choreography and might tell you have to do something. Gary Daniels was starring in movies. Don the Dragon Wilson was making movies left and right. All the different movie companies were trading stars back and forth. Like Don would make a movie for this group, and then he'd make a movie for Corman and all this stuff. So when that dried up, that was a sad day for us to be movie martial artists.
See, and that's what I've always said, that I liked those movies because I want to see real martial arts. Your Showdown, Sworn to Justice, Blood Fist, Equalizer 2000. These are martial artists doing martial arts. I would rather watch that as a martial artist than, say, a big budget Universal Sony picture where the guy doesn't know martial arts, but he's the martial arts star. It just wasn't the same to me.
Yeah, I hear you there. I think there are some exceptions to that rule. I'll take The Matrix any day of the week. That movie thrilled me from the martial arts point of view. And I think, even in this era, if you see something like The Raid, come out,
Great movie.
or even when the first Ong Bak came out. I mean, anybody who's a martial arts fan was blown away by Ong Bak. It was most people's first introduction to Thai martial arts films. And that guy was incredible. So there have been some things, and hopefully every once in a while there'll continue to be some things where we do see some martial arts and some stuff come up. But yeah, the heyday of there's the golden age of comics and the bronze age and silver age. Man, that was the golden age of martial arts movies for sure. And the golden age might have been like the Chuck Norris, Kung Fu, Shaw Brothers, all that 70s Bruce Lee, Shaw, into Chuck Norris, and then sort of ending with the Cannon movies. And then when it moved into home video, that's like the silver age, man. It was great.
I'm 46, and I still love the movies. My son is 10. He earned his junior black belt in Taekwondo, and he wanted to study something new, and I showed him The Perfect Weapon, and he wanted to do Kenpo. So now, even at 46, I haven't done any martial arts. Probably it'd been about a good 10-year lapse. I'm doing Kenpo again now with him, and for me, it's always been because of the love of the films.
Yeah, I would say for anybody out there, if you go back and you really want to have a great martial arts movie experience, watching the first movie of a lot of the different performers is really where it's at. Like, Above the Law with Steven Seagal, regardless of whatever he became later on, that Above the Law movie is awesome.
It's a great movie.
And the way, the first time Aikido was used in that way, and he's the proponent of it, and it was amazing. And then The Perfect Weapon, like you said, with Jeff Speakman, to see what he does in that movie, regardless of what the plot is and the acting of the story, the delivery of Kenpo and what it showed off in that movie, just amazing. Again, we just mentioned Tony Jaa, Ong Bak, going back and watching that for the first time, just amazing. So if you were playing all those, I think Bruce Lee, The Big Boss, right? That was his first movie, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can kind of watch all the first movies of guys, that's where you really see, like, this is what they got to offer. And they still made great movies beyond that. All those guys made some other pretty good movies. Even Steven Seagal made Under Siege. Man, that movie was awesome. I really like that movie. But those first movies, those Deadly Sonic, those debut movies, pretty good stuff.
Only the Strong with Mark Dacascos. I love that. That's the first time you saw Capoeira. Unfortunately, I'm not built to learn Capoeira, so, I stayed away from that.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, Corey. Another great movie that introduces the martial art, and Mark Dacascos did a great job of doing it in that film.
Do you ever, I know you do a lot of conventions and everything, as Raphael and all that, but do you ever get the itch to be like, boy, I'd like to try to find a way to fund an action movie and do one more big, kung fu R-rated action B-type movie? Do you ever get the urge to do that?
Well, that's the dream. After I got out of acting, I actually raised money and produced and directed a movie called Adventures of Johnny Dow. Mm-hmm. And I created sort of a cartoon, kid-friendly, what I thought was kid-friendly, kung fu movie. So I actually followed through on that. I wrote that script and created it because I wanted to star in it. But then I got too old and it took too long. It's so hard to make a movie and raise money. But ultimately, I knew it was better to put somebody in the driver's seat and I would just direct and write. And for my first movie, I'm super proud of it. It sold all around the world. It actually sold more units domestically on video than Showdown did.
I don't believe that.
So I made that. Yeah. So I made that film, but that was part of the change in the video industry. When Showdown came out, Blockbuster and other video stores were paying anywhere from $50 to $60 for each video cassette of a movie. And that's why guys could make movies and make money, because if you sold 30,000 units, you were making a couple of $1 million. Mm-hmm. Once movies moved to DVD, Blockbuster and other video stores started only paying $1 to $2 for each copy of a movie. So you can immediately see you're now only making $1.50 of what you were making before as an independent filmmaker, so you can't make your money back. So my movie Adventures of Johnny Dow actually outsold Showdown, regardless of which one was better or not, but made a hell of a lot less money. So I had the opportunity to make a film. Had we been able to make money like it should have made based on the market, not should have made. I mean, again, it sold great. Had it made the money that Showdown could have made at the same time, I would have made more. That's what I was hoping to do. But that was the drying up of that market, like you said. And I was way on the end of it. That wasn't until 2005. If I had the opportunity to do it now, of course, Corey, that's my dream. I would love to continue to make movies, whether I'm in the director's chair or somehow in front of the camera. If I tried to make an action movie in front of the camera right now, I think I'd have a heart attack. But if I was behind the camera, I'd certainly love it. So, yes, of course I'd like to do that. But that's the dream, you know? So, yes, if anybody out there wants to team up, I've got some screenplays, I'm ready to make some movies, you let me know. I'm working in an ad agency right now as a creative director, which I love, but I will give that up in a heartbeat to go make action films for the rest of the world.
I've got, and I have to tell you off camera so no one steals it, I really do have an idea for Showdown the Next Generation.
Well, Corey, I'll say this. I'd love to see how we put that together, find some investors, and then let's talk. If you can get the backing for that movie, I'm in.
I really will. I have your email. I'll send you the rough outline I have for it. We don't even need Billy. It's going to rely on you.
Maybe Showdown, the Next Generation. Well, the key always, Corey, as I learned so much being an actor in film and then becoming a producer and director, when you want to make a movie, it's all about finding funding.
Yeah.
And so that's the real key. No matter how great an idea it is, you've got to go out and find people that are willing to give you money. And I know guys to this day that are making movies for under $10,000. I don't know how they do it, but there's a guy out there named David Sterling. You can look him up if you don't already know him. And David Sterling makes amazing movies. He continues to do it to this day, somehow feeding some beast out there that wants that content. I don't know what it is. But everybody else is looking for $1 million, $2 million, or more dollars. So, Corey, put together a GoFundMe for Showdown, the Next Generation.
I was just going to say, a lot of filmmakers rely on the Kickstarters, the GoFundMes, just to get enough backing to find, then a bigger money man. I mean, it can be done. Even, I don't know if you got to, I hate to say his name, like Corey Feldman, who was the voice of Donatello, the documentary he made, I'll give him credit. He was innovative. He streamed it online like a pay-per-view. I mean, I think there's still ways in the digital market to be profitable. It's just, something that no one's really cracked yet.
I hear you there. Well, if you come up with an idea or funding, you let me know, Corey. You've got my number.
Oh, I will. Before we go, is there any cool behind-the-scenes Showdown story you can share with us?
Well, I would say I don't, off the top of my head, because that's my next book. My next book is going to be called Showdown in Hollywood, and it's going to be the story of how, after Ninja Turtles, I moved to L.A., and what I did to pursue getting Showdown, and I invented this is one of the stories in the book. In order to get the job, this doesn't actually, it's not behind the scenes, but it's how it worked out. I was an unemployed actor in Hollywood, and it was after Ninja Turtles, and I was trying to figure out how to get my next big break. So I went and I got the Hollywood Reporter, one of the trade publications out there, and I looked up all the different companies that were making martial arts movies with Don the Dragon Wilson and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Cynthia Rothrock. And it was Shapiro Glickenhaus and Imperial Entertainment and some other, and Roger Corman, Concord New Horizons was the name of the company. Mm-hmm. And so I found all these companies. I saw on the video box who made the companies, who made the movies. So I looked up their addresses, looked up who works for them, and then I put together a VHS videotape of my scenes from Ninja Turtles. And then I went to Kinko's, and this is before the internet. I created print stationery for a bullshit management company. I named it after my roommate. His name was Tony Summers. So I called it Summers Management Company, and I wrote a whole long letter, about how Kenn Scott was a great actor and a martial artist, and he was a Ninja Turtle, and now he's set to take over Hollywood, and you should meet him and make a movie with him. And I put together like 15 or 20 packages with this thing and the fake interview letter, and the fake letter. I sent it out to all these companies, and then I sat on my couch and I played Super Nintendo Shootfighter 2. Oh. And I just sat around and waited, and one day my phone rang. And I picked it up, and I just went, hello? And they said, yeah, can we speak to Tony Summers, please? And I knew that was a call to my management company because it was my phone number. There's nobody who would be asking for Tony unless they had gotten the Summers management letter. And Tony was sitting next to me playing Super Nintendo with a big wad of chewing tobacco in his mouth. And I went, Tony, it's one of the movie companies. You got to talk to him. So I handed Tony the phone, and for the next 20 minutes, Tony sat there and just went, yes, of course. Yes, that's how we feel about Ken. Yes. He hung up the phone. He said, it's Imperial Entertainment. The guys who made Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme, they want to meet with you and talk to you. And then we hung up the phone, and we were like, yeah, let it go, man. And that's how I got my first interview to do Imperial Entertainment and ended up doing Showdown.
Now that is truly awesome. So now I'm going to make a letter, too, and I'm going to send it out to production companies because I've got some good ideas, I think, that could work.
There you go, man. You got to follow your dreams, baby. That's what the book is about. Follow your dreams, right?
And you
pick what you want to do and go after it.
See, and you certainly did. And, you know, I can speak for everyone that reads my site. We can't thank you enough for the movies you were in.
I appreciate that a lot, Corey. I'll say this. My shameless plug is go to Amazon and type in Kenn Scott book. And it's Kenn with 2 N, K-E-N-N, last name Scott. Type in Kenn Scott book, and up will come Teenage Ninja, the Mutant Turtle, Becoming the Real Raphael. If you are truly a fan of the first couple of Ninja Turtle movies, or anything like that, I guarantee you will love this book. Go check it out. Right now, it's the 30th anniversary of the movie, so the book's it's on sale right now on Amazon. Just go check it out. If you do, you can go to turtleconfessions.com. That's my website. You can also find the book there. And just drop me an email and just tell me what you thought and say hello or do whatever. That'd be super cool. But, Corey, I really appreciate you having me on the show and talking about all this stuff. Obviously, you know your movies. You and your fans and your followers know your martial arts movies. And I appreciate you guys sharing the time with me and showing me love and talking about something we all have in common. It's been great.
Oh, it has been great. Buy his book. I got it on my Kindle. Real nice, quick, fun read. I recommend everybody go out and read it.
Right on, guys. Cowabunga.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to the Chronicles of Hollywood History. Thank you from Gomez Richmond Productions.